Good afternoon. This afternoon I'm going to go through the process of doing inline editing with Rails using the Hotwire Rails functionality. I've already done a lot of functionality with this that includes adding and deleting items. I can delete, these activity resources. I can add them, pretty quickly. Um, I can delete them. So, I mean, it works pretty well. So the inline editing functionality allows you to click on this without leaving the page to edit this record. So if I click on it, now I've made all of these links. So all of these activate the same edit or inline editing functionality. So when I update it, it automatically recalculates the total with the new quantity. So quantity of 1 gives me the total quantity of 11, change that total. So that works pretty well. So if I add multiple entries in here, I can edit several at a time. That may not be the desired functionality, but that works. And so that works pretty well. So I want to go through how that is done. So the best way to do that, in my opinion, is to, tweak your edit controller. So we're just going to respond. We're not going to do the standard editing. We're going to respond to turbo streams. So we'll add this respond to format, and then the format is TurboStream. So when you have a format TurboStream option, it's going to by default execute a TurboStream with the same name as the method. So edit.turbostream.erb. So that's what it's going to call. So it's going to call this edit.turbostream.erb. And so here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a TurboStream replace, and I'm going to tell it the ID. So this is the identifier for this record. So it's going to return activity underscore resource underscore 12, for example, that represents this record. And then it's going to use this partial, so it's going to return, it's going to execute a partial and return the HTML from that partial. So this can be a standard form. So I made that form aligned to this layout. So in that form, I have at the top of it, I have a ID, and this is going to match that ID for that activity resource. So it's always good to do this. Otherwise, when you replace it later on, you won't be able to update it if you don't have that ID. So we'll replace deletes and inserts where that entity that it was replacing. So it doesn't do an append. So you have to be careful when you think of that. So this is just my standard form. There's nothing fancy with it, nothing at all. So I just have one input styled, and that's what you see when you click this. Okay, so that's good. So then the next piece of it is the actual, what is the link that's going from here into the form? Okay, so this activity resource partial. So this is being generated on the fly multiple times just through a standard um, render. So this is rendering that activity resources. So it's rendering that list. Um, so it's pretty straightforward. So that's just that partial. And so what I have is for all the links, I have the label, and then I have the path. So edit activity resource path, and then I pass in the thing that I'm going to edit. So if you notice, all of these links have activity resources 70 edit or 72 edit. And so all of those links basically take me to the edit controller method right here. Okay, so this is going to execute, and then it's going to execute what I just went over. It's going to run this turbo stream, which is going to call this partial to replace that div. And this is the partial that it's going to replace it with, and the form. And this is just the link to. So that's how it ties together. And then under the activity resource, what I do is what I have now is I have a broadcast I broadcast the update to that activity resource. So broadcast replace to self schedule. So again, I'm using that higher level TurboStream from schedule that I've set up earlier, and I'm broadcasting to that. So one of the things that I'm doing to update that total is I have a simple function that looks at the quantity and it multiplies it times the resources fully loaded rate for that project, and then it calculates that cost. And then I'm calling that update after validation, so it's making sure that it works. It's valid before it does that total. And then here is the after update callback for doing the broadcast. So that's taking this edit and it's saying, hey, there's an update. Let's push that back to the client. Okay, so there's two-way communication. This is the functionality that's driving the communication from the server back to the client. And this is the functionality that updates the total that we want to see. And then, this is the function that sends the updated form to the client. So it works pretty well. So real quick, going over from the beginning, I've updated the edit to return a turbo stream, and that turbo stream tells it to replace, and I tell it where to replace it. So this could change based on what you need. Um, and then I tell it what partial to render. So I have an edit activity resource partial. Now, whatever you call in here, it's expecting that to begin with underscore and to have an HTML ERB. And here's that partial that I'm sending back. And, that is being called through this edit activity resource path link. So that is executing that turbo stream. And then finally, to get the update, to update the results back to the client, we're using the broadcast when it's been updated. So after update activity resource. And so here's that, very simple, broadcast replace to self.schedule. So I'm just using that, this relationship as a way to tie back uniquely to people that are updating this schedule. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it. There's not more to it than that. So hopefully you enjoyed it and it was useful to you. If you like this, please like it. If you'd like to see more videos of me going through building this app and providing some useful information, please subscribe. All right. And that's all I have. Thank you.